I'm definitely a morning person, always the first one up in our house. I can't wait to get outside into the garden. Being in the open air feels like liberation. I feel like a child let out of school, rain or shine. I get a sense of what the weather has in store, taking in the quality of the light and the mood of the sky. Accepting what nature throws at you is part of the whole organic thing. It's about going with the flow and following your instincts and doing what seems right for you. And that's what this series is all about. Over the next 6 weeks, Fork to Fork will show you how to grow organic ingredients and then turn them into some of the best food you've ever eaten. The garden you see today was created by Sarah and I in the early 1980s, but the upkeep has always been a family affair, with plenty of moaning from all of us at one time or another. Food is important to us, and we decided early on only to grow things we like to eat, and we were equally determined to grow them organically. So in our first year here, we planted root vegetables, potatoes, carrots and beetroot. Roots are not only the earthiest of all vegetables, but they are also the most mysterious. Until you harvest them, you haven't a clue what they're going to be like. But they have ways of letting us know if they're healthy and when they're ready to harvest.
In June, the flowers of the new potatoes appear, and this is the moment, because once you see these, you know that the actual potatoes are forming underground. And although they're not fully mature till the last flower has disappeared, that doesn't matter, because we want the first ones. And all you have to do is just get the potato plant and gently pull it up. And there, you'll find the potatoes just clinging onto it. And if you rummage your hands in there, it's like treasure hunting. There, look. Potatoes. They would grow much bigger if you left them in, but they won't taste any better. Now, once you've dug them, it's really important to cook them quickly, because the whole point of growing new potatoes yourself is to get them in that first hour before all the sugars go. And you just can't buy that with all the best will in the world from a shop. And all that trouble of growing them is wasted if you don't get on with it. But there is time on the way to grab some mint. This is apple mint, which we grow in a container so it doesn't spread. And take plenty of it. And mint and potatoes are the best possible combination. Right. Now just rinse these out in cold water. Cook them in cold water, not hot. And just whiz these around. And there's no need to scrub them, because that would damage the skins, where a lot of the taste and the goodness is. Tip them in, put them on the stove. And leave those for about 20 minutes. And the mint we'll use after they've boiled. You cook them so that it gently bubbles away, and they're done when you can slide a knife right through them, but they don't want to be so done that they fall apart. In fact, these are just perfect now. So, take those off. Put them back in the same dish that they were cooked in, and then you can use butter, but I think olive oil is nicer. Not a huge amount, just a little. Swizz them around. Now this is when you put them in, and the steam makes them absorb the minty flavour. And then don't put the lid back on, but get a clean tea towel and just put it over. And that stops them getting slimy. It keeps them very warm, and then they'll keep like that for at least 10 minutes while they absorb all the lovely minty flavour.
The process of growing delicious organic new potatoes begins in winter, and strangely enough, in our living room. First, you need to chit your seed potatoes, which means leaving them to sprout before planting. This will speed up the growing process. Put the side of the potato with most eyes face up. These are dormant sprouts. This variety is Duke of York, a reliable organic potato from Scotland. Leave them for a month or so in a cool, light spot, like a windowsill, until the sprouts are about 2 centimeters long. The potatoes are then ready for planting, and we get our living room back. Potatoes are a tough crop and aren't fussy about soil type, but they do like a healthy growing environment. So add organic matter like mushroom compost to well-dug earth to get results. Before March ends, plant your seed potatoes about 6 inches into the soil with the sprouts facing up. Leaving a foot or so between each one gives them the space they need to expand underground. Potatoes are tough, but they aren't that tough. Crisp, sunny spring days inevitably lead to frosty nights, and frost scorches the leaves. Although the tubers should survive, it can delay growth, so take preventative action and protect them with cloches. These are the equivalent of tiny, inexpensive greenhouses. By late spring, they're ready to fend for themselves, but you can help them along by earthing up the plants. The soil protects potatoes from severe cold and disease, and exposure to sunlight turns spuds green and poisonous. If it doesn't rain, potatoes need a good soaking once a week or so. And 100 days after planting, the first new potatoes of the year are ready to taste.
These are new potatoes growing in a container, which is actually an old dustbin, but it could be anything. Grow bag, whatever you've got. At least you'll then get one meal of new potatoes as they should taste. And ideally you have a great big garden and you grow lots, but nothing need stop you getting at the essence of what this is all about.
There we go. Ta-da! Oh, a splud.
It might seem bizarre to make a meal out of new potatoes, but they should be relished as a delicacy, like the first strawberries or asparagus of the season.
Earthy.
It's so good.
It's funny, potatoes are not sexy food, but are very nice.
No sooner are you savouring that first new potato than you have to watch out for blight. And if blight strikes, it's a disaster. It seems to be endemic in this area, and it happens most years. Nevertheless, it's a catastrophe, and the leaves all rot and drop down dead, and if you're not careful, you can lose your entire potato crop. But I wouldn't let it get any worse than this. Once you've got these dots, to me it's like gangrene. You've got to take radical action. You simply can't reclaim the situation. But the potatoes should be okay because the blight is borne by rain. And because it's been so dry, the thing to do is just pull them all up. They're starting to rot already. And burn them. Now, if it's dry, even if the tops are completely dyed down like this, the potatoes should be okay. That's a bit worrying. Let's go in there. Yeah, these are fine because the soil has protected them. But we'll have to dig them all up and harvest them today. Right, take this, stick it in the bladder.
The potatoes that do survive should be kept in a cool, dark place in a hessian or paper sack and not in plastic or they'll rot.
Because they're rotten, I don't really want to burn. They make quite a wet fire, which is why you need lots of heat. They must be burned, or else the spores will spread.
Most potato growers use a chemical fungicide to stop blight, but that's just not an organic option. Any crop will only be as good as the soil it's grown in, and the organic principle here is to plan and prepare rather than rely on chemicals later on to help you out.
It's really important with vegetables not to grow the same crop year after year in the same ground, because otherwise any problems they've got, any diseases, get passed on. The thing about crop rotation is not to be obsessed by it, but just have a basic rule of not following cabbages with cabbages or peas with peas. If you follow cabbages with a root crop and then a root crop with a legume crop, like peas and beans, you won't go wrong.
We've never had much success with carrots. They tend not to thrive in heavy soil. But this year I made a huge effort to prepare the soil to suit their desire for loose earth that allows the roots to swell. This meant digging in lots of grit to open up the soil and improve drainage. But do not add manure of any sort, as that distorts carrots into bizarre shapes. Before sowing carrots in the spring, I put chives around the edge of the bed. The oniony smell helps ward off carrot fly, which can be a real nuisance. This is a case of prevention being better than cure, a really important part of the organic approach. Carrot seed is absolutely tiny, obviously not designed for my big hands, but if you can, sow thinly into drills about 3/4 of an inch deep.
About a month after sowing, it's time to thin carrots. And you thin them for two reasons. One, because there'll be too much competition. I mean, they're as bad as weeds if you have a whole mass in one place. And also so that the water and the nutrients available are shared evenly as you want them, which is just like weeding. That's why you take weeds out, so that they won't take nutrients away from the plants that you want to keep. And we thin twice. The first one is when they're tiny like this, until they're about a finger's width apart. And then about a month later, we take each alternate carrot out to eat them raw, lovely baby carrots, and let the others grow to maturity. However, there is a problem with thinning carrots, because when you pull them up, even if you just pull a tiny seedling like that, it smells distinctly of carrot, and that attracts carrot fly. And they burrow in and eat the carrots, which is bad news. There are ways of avoiding that by putting chives around the outside, which confuse it with its scent, and you can put a barrier. An effective way is to put fleece over the whole thing, but personally, I just think that looks horrible. I'd rather have carrot fly than fleece. So you try and do it at night, because they don't operate at night, and do it quickly, and make sure the thinnings are put on the compost heap quickly.
In midsummer, harvest alternate carrots so that those left behind have space to keep growing. Unless carrot fly have launched a serious attack, pull the carrots as and when you want to use them, because the best place to store them is in the soil where they're grown.
In summer, raw carrots are so much the nicest way to eat them. Children don't like cooked carrots anyway, so we tend to just eat them raw, wash them and munch them.
Gardening organically is also about creating a whole environment, and I want the satisfaction of feeling a connection with the raw materials that form part of my garden world. Mike Evans is a local sheep farmer, and when he isn't lambing, he carries on his family tradition of gathering wood in local forests, and that wood becomes part of my garden.
These have to go in really firmly, because they're going to take all the pressure of the wood. Whatever the weather, doing this, you end up taking all your clothes off. It's quite important that these go in straight. Each bang is like doing a press-up or lifting a weight. It gives me some satisfaction that each one of these posts I've driven in. This oak, which I bought off a man from Wenlock Edge in Shropshire, was planted by his father 60 years ago. It was planted when he was born in celebration of his birth. And that man's family wenlock hedge, the tree, it all enriches my garden. It sounds a bit arty-farty, but it matters to me. Aye. And that is the last one of those for about 5 years, which is just as well. Now, fella, you're going to have to move. That's a good pole.
Finally, I weave hazel rods around the posts to create a Tudor-style hurdle fence, which I think looks lovely. And psychologically, it's great having such defined, bite-sized chunks of garden, so no job, not even digging or weeding, is too daunting.
We grow lots of beetroot because it's one of the rare vegetables that everybody likes. I mean, even the children eat them. And you can cook them in plenty of different ways. And I like to eat the leaves as well. And they're just so beautiful. Just the colour of them. And it's just a joy to pick them.
I think beetroot works best cooked with hot salty cream. That might sound a bit strange, but it really looks and tastes fantastic. Don't peel the beetroot yet, just wash them, leaving the roots and about 2 inches of leaves intact, as this stops the beets bleeding while cooking. I always use cold water for root vegetables, as this helps them to cook gradually and evenly. Bring to the boil and cook for about 40 minutes. You'll know they're nice and tender when the skin is wrinkled. Rub the skins off when the beetroot is cool enough to handle. At this stage you're likely to get pink fingers. Put the beetroot halves in an oven dish so they fit snugly. Be generous with the salt, which balances the sweetness of the beetroot, and a good pinch of pepper, and then add a few dollops of double cream. Bake in a hot oven for about 20 minutes until the cream has turned into gooey, gaudy pink sauce. The contrasting green of fresh chives adds a finishing touch. It's delicious with roast meat or with just a hunk of bread to soak up the rich flavours. The summer is also the time to start growing winter supplies of this incredibly undemanding root veg. I love large corky beetroot seeds. They're easy to sow one by one, spacing them about every 2 inches. Now, thinning isn't the most exciting job, but it is important. Beetroot, like all root vegetables, need room to expand. If we get a really dry summer, root vegetables can split, so just water weekly to avoid problems and to encourage the beetroots to swell, and that's really all there is to it. Like beetroot, parsnips are sweet and comforting. They aren't fussy about the weather, and it's actually hard to go wrong.
Now, parsnips are one of my favourites because A, they're so distinctive, and B, they're a treat you have to wait for. This is about the first time of the year you ever get them, which is the beginning of autumn. You dig them up, careful not to break them, and they keep in the ground. You don't need to harvest them, just dig them as and when you need them. I think I've got enough there. That's good.
The parsnips we're now harvesting started life back in the spring. They really take their time growing, so April is about the right time to get seeds sown into warm, light, loose soil. They're so slow, you can put in a catch crop of radishes while the parsnips germinate. A month later, the parsnips are still hidden in the earth, but the radishes are ready to eat. Thin in midsummer, but parsnips are the same family as carrots and are vulnerable to carrot fly. Use chives again as a deterrent. And to ensure the roots swell, don't forget to water. Parsnips last well into the new year and can tolerate foul weather. And frost is good news for parsnips, making them taste even sweeter when you come to use them.
I know there are people who think that the preparation of vegetables from the garden is just another chore that you've got to do. But I like it.
I like the way that there is this link between gardening and cooking, a sort of halfway house where you convert the food from muddy veg into ingredients. Now I'm going to peel these and we're going to make puree out of them, which is somewhere sort of between mashed potato and sauce in texture. It's, I think, the most delicious way to eat them, although they're very good roast as well. When they're soft enough to put a knife through them, drain them into a colander, and underneath the colander, put another saucepan so you can collect most of the juices, because we're going to need that when we make the puree. Now, this is the easy bit. We just stick the parsnips in the whizzer, add some butter, not too much, because otherwise it's a bit rich, but they do actually absorb butter really well, so about half of that. There, a bit of salt, plenty of pepper. And we'll whiz it first before adding just a little bit of the juice. Up it goes. Now I'm going to stop it because last time I did this, I added juice while it was going around, it came founting out the top. Right. Add a bit, not too much, because the consistency you're looking for is a sort of cross between a sauce and very runny mashed potato. Okay. Twiddle your thumbs, wait for it to happen. Take it off, stick your finger back in again. Absolutely fine. Warm that up later if you want to, serve it straight away if you want to. And any left over, by the way, is a very good base for soup. It's good tackle.
We're by no means vegetarian, and eating parsnip with sausage is a favourite autumn meal. It's even worth making a special trip to Ludlow to get the right sausages. This Shropshire town is nicknamed Gourmetville, partly thanks to its annual food festival. One highlight is a sausage competition for which Ludlow's 6 independent butchers dream up secret new recipes. It's not always easy to find strictly organic meat, but I'm perfectly happy to buy free-range sausages, which means the pigs have been reared traditionally without the use of antibiotics or growth promoters.
2 pounds of the pork and nutmeg, please.
I trust my butcher and know he knows exactly which farm each pig has come from. Again, it's all about feeling a connection with things. These sausages could be considered expensive, but in truth, the only similarity between these meaty bangers and the sickly pale mass-produced ones is the shape.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
It's hardly surprising that bangers and mash have started appearing on restaurant menus. But why go out? I can think of very few things that are simpler to cook or more satisfying to eat on a cold autumn night than this.